In the last part, we talked about passive listening and how important it is for you to do that as much as possible. So does that mean I don't want you to listen actively? No, it doesn't mean that. Of course I do. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this part. So my suggestions are going to depend a lot on whether you're just beginning to learn English or whether you've been learning English for some time now. So if you're only beginning to learn English, then my suggestion for you is to watch movies, to watch videos, to watch series, but I don't want you to use subtitles. No subtitles in your language, no subtitles in English. Huh? Yes, no subtitles. Your brain learns by learning in context. The context is what helps it to define what is actually happening and what it should be learning. Now, if you don't give it the context, when the opportunity to learn, how is it going to learn? I know how frustrating it can be to not understand everything that's going on in the movie or in the series. Trust me, I've been there. I've done that and I know how important this is. But if you insist, your brain will learn quickly and it'll learn very naturally. And if you watch it again later after watching other things, you give your brain another opportunity to see that same context again, to verify what it learned the first time and also to learn even more. So does that mean you should never watch a movie with subtitles or audio in your own language? No, please go right ahead and enjoy the movie, but try watching it in English without subtitles first, so that when you watch it with either audio or subtitles in your own language, your brain has an opportunity to confirm the things that it had seen and learned the first time round. Okay, so I'm sure some of you are going to say, but if I watch it with subtitles in English, I'm still learning. Yes, you are still learning, but that's not listening. That is reading. And reading we will talk about later on. Right now, we're talking about listening and your need to learn through listening. So, no subtitles in English, audio in English. It's gonna be difficult in the beginning, but it gets easier and easier. If you don't ever do this, it's always hard. Now, for those of you who've been learning English for some time, I have some other suggestions. Of course, you can do the suggestion that I gave for people who are beginners, and you should, but you may be understanding a lot more than just the very basics. I would like you to push your brain a little bit harder so that it can understand the contextual information at a much higher rate. What does that mean? I call it accelerated active listening. Accelerated active listening is when you increase the playback speed so that it's much faster. Everybody asks me, well, how fast should it be? Well, it depends. The objective is not how fast. The objective is how much are you understanding. You should be understanding between 60 to 70%. That's enough for you to get all of the information you need to understand what's really going on. But it's not enough to satisfy your brain. Your brain is going to hate it. Your brain hates not understanding. Now, the 30 to 40% that you're not understanding is the most important part. That is what is going to push your brain into overdrive. It's going to work super hard to understand the context, to think critically, to problem solve, and to creatively project in that space where it's not understanding. And it has to do that in English because you've increased the playback speed. See? Okay? Of course, in the beginning, it can be a little bit uncomfortable, but with practice, it gets much easier, and there are a lot of very good benefits to this. One, it accelerates your brain's activity in English. It can even, if you're not already having dreams in English, it can provoke dreams in English. The other thing is, you waste less time watching whatever you're watching. And the last thing is that you won't like watching things at regular speed anymore because it'll be too slow. The most important thing out of all of that is that this really helps to build autonomy in English. I'm not going to talk about autonomy in English right now. We'll talk about that in the future. But just so you know why this is really important is it helps your brain to begin to be able to do almost everything that it needs to do in English. So is that it for this video? There's one more thing I would really like you to consider. I would like you to consider putting as many of your devices as possible in English. Yes, that means your phone, tablets, laptops, PCs, TVs in English. Why? Because your brain learns in context and you're giving it more opportunities, more context to learn in English. Is it comfortable in the beginning? No, of course not. But does it help? Of course it helps. And of course it gives your brain more opportunities to learn quickly and to learn naturally. So watch movies, videos, and series in English without subtitles as much as you possibly can to get your brain accustomed to it. And of course, if you're already understanding enough and you can crank up that playback speed so that you're understanding about 60 to 70%, that's fantastic. But keep in mind that with accelerated active listening, it's not how much you do it. What's really, really important is how engaged you are with what you're doing. So I generally suggest that you do this with something you really want to watch, or you're really interested in, or you really want to learn from. And don't forget to put your devices in English. And of course, have fun.